There you go. Can you repeat, Kerwin?
Today we are not farming. It's too wet to farm. It's been too wet to farm for about 2 months. In the meantime, we're doing some trucking. For those of you who don't know, my dad and I also have a small trucking business. We just have 2 trucks. We haul mostly gravel, dirt, sand, stuff we can get in dump trailers. We also haul a little bit of grain. Grain doesn't pay as well. We found that the dump trailer work pays the best for us. We also haul a little bit of fresh produce from a vegetable grower that's near us. They grow potatoes, cabbage, squash, things like that.
419.
Today we're hauling CM16 chips for a local township. That's what they use for tar and chip roads, or oil and chip roads, whatever you want to call them. Some of you may know that the 2019 spring has been extremely wet for much of the Corn Belt, mainly the eastern Corn Belt. South Dakota's pretty rough shape. Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio are way behind on planting compared to normal years. Now, a lot of farmers have a side business, whether it's, installing tile or trucking or things of that nature. It's really nice to have something on the side to do on a year like this. We haven't had much opportunity whatsoever to get any farming done, so it's nice to have something on the side to keep busy and put a little money in our pockets. We got 60 acres planted back on the 16th of May. Today's the 31st of May, and we haven't done anything since. I haven't had a whole lot to make an actual video about, so I want to take some time to explain some of the decisions that we're facing. Farmers are sort of running out of time because of crop insurance dates and deadlines and stuff like that. So there's basically, in my opinion, there's 3 options that we have, and I want to explain those in this video. When I say there's basically 3 decisions that have to be made, I don't mean there's only 3 decisions. In my opinion, there's 3 decision categories, and those are continue to plant our intended acres to intended crops, switch acres to soybeans because it's getting late, and our third option is to take what's called prevent plant or preventive planting, which is a provision that's included in our federal crop insurance. Those loaders have scales on them so they can put exactly how much we want. I can haul 22¼ tons. Arsenal 4, same way. So I'm not an expert on crop insurance, so hopefully these figures are fairly accurate, but just know that I don't have a calculator in front of me and I'm not an expert on how it all works. I pretty much know how to do the figures for my own application on my own farm. And yes, I'm backing up and talking to the camera at the same time. I'm good. A lot of these farmers are trying to figure out what are we going to do if we can't get planted, or if it gets pushed back later, things like that. So the first category of options that I consider in my mind, now this only applies if you have purchased crop insurance. I would guess that most farmers buy crop insurance just so they can spread their risk out. But anyways, the first category of options in my mind is to go on planting your intended crop on intended acres. So for corn, we have up until June 5th to plant our crop and have the same amount of coverage, insurance coverage, that we purchased, which is 85%. So if you plant corn up until June 5th, you can have a revenue guarantee on 85% of what you produce. That number is based on your APH, which is your actual production history. They average it out over, I'm not sure if it's 5 or 10 years, but most of our APH is in that 160 to 180 range. So if you take an APH of 170 bushels to the acre, and you take your 85% revenue guarantee, that gives you about $570 guaranteed per acre. So what that is a worst case scenario, you have a crop failure, that's what insurance will pay you. If you factor your expenses into that, which mine are around $470 an acre, that gives you a net profit of $100 an acre guaranteed. Now, a lot of farmers have tighter margins than that because they're either paying higher cash rent or they have more machinery payments. For me, I'm just getting started. I don't have a lot of equipment payments, so that's the dollar figures for my farm. Now, obviously, on a normal year, you wouldn't count on having a crop failure. It's always a possibility. That $570 guarantee is a minimum. Say I grew 200 bushel corn, sold it for $4, that gives me $800 an acre. I'll take 22 and a quarter, Kevin. So what crop insurance is designed, it's not designed for farmers to make money. It's designed to keep the farm afloat. So those figures are break even. A lot of farmers, they might break even or even lose a little bit of money, but it's not designed to make sure the farmers make money. It's designed to keep the farm going, and a lot of people have trouble understanding that. There's good and bad to each one of these options that I'm going to explain, and one of the bad things about planting corn late is corn needs time, it needs heat degree units to mature, and if you plant it late, you're not going to get as full of a growing season. You can just about bank on having a less productive crop. If we plant corn at this point, we're looking at 150 bushel corn versus 180 to 200. Now there are things you can do to kind of help with the shorter growing season. You can switch to earlier maturing varieties, which we have already done in our case. Normally we plant, 108 to 114 day corn, and we've already swapped out some of that later maturity stuff for some I think we got 108, 109 day. So what that means is that corn takes less time to mature. Normally it doesn't give you as great of a crop, but at this point we're looking at, if we get corn planted, we need it to dry down so we're not paying a bunch of money trying to dry the corn after we harvest it. I also want you guys to know, I'm not filming while driving down the road. I'm just in the quarry driving around at slow speed, so don't worry, I'm safe. Another drawback to planting corn late, with federal crop insurance, they give you up until June 5th in our area to plant corn and still keep your insurance coverage that you purchase, which in our case is 85%. If you plant after that date, they take 1% of your coverage away for 20 days. So if you plant corn through the 25th, you can keep your insurance, but you're going to lose 20% of your coverage. So that gives you 65% coverage. That piles a little more risk on you, so if you do have a bad crop, your insurance guarantees go way down. Dad's dumping the last load of chips now. Now we're going to switch over to road mix. We got 4 loads to haul to a local farmer who added on to one of his machine sheds. So our next option, say it's June 5th, you're not willing to risk your insurance coverage. After that, you could plant soybeans. Soybeans are a shorter season crop, therefore the final insurance date is pushed back to June 25th for soybeans. Now the issue with growing soybeans is, for our area, we can't grow as good as soybeans as we can grow corn. And there's also a lot of downside potential to the soybean price. We've planted double crop beans after winter wheat in about the last week of July, and they still did pretty well. Now, you're going to lose your insurance coverage if you go that far, but soybeans are a viable option because they have the shorter growing season. They'll still do fine. We are probably looking at a little bit lower yield, and pushing that growing season back gives you a little more chance of an early frost.
Truck number 7, same way.
And soybeans are a little more sensitive to frost than corn is. Now, looking at the growing season that we're faced with, it's looking like a lot of producers will switch those corn acres to soybean acres. Simple economics tells us that if you plant more soybeans, you're going to have a higher supply of soybeans, and that will lead to lower prices. So soybean prices are pretty low already, and it's hard for us to make money growing soybeans. We do have a seed bean contract that gives us a little bit of a premium, so we're going to do that, but we don't know if we want to push those corn acres into soybeans just yet. On the other hand, that same scenario will push corn prices up, so that's another incentive to keep planting corn even past the insurance date. What is the holdup? Alright, now we're moving. Arsenault 4 switched over to Road Mix, billed to Arsenault Trucking. The job is Martin. Now, the other issue with growing a lot of soybeans is soybeans can be very difficult to harvest if you don't have the right conditions. If we get a rainy fall or early snow or anything like that, they can just be a very big pain to try and harvest. Now, the good thing about soybeans is, like I said, you can plant them up until June 25th. That gives us plenty of time to try and get soybeans in and still keep our insurance coverage. But there you go, option 2, plant soybeans. So your next option after soybeans is to take what they call prevent plant or preventive planting. Now, preventive planting is a provision provided in federal crop insurance, and basically what it is if you can't get your crop planted, if it's after the insurance date, after June 5th for corn, and you decide to opt in to prevent plant, they will pay you 55% of your insurance coverage. So for us, we would get 55% of 85%. So there's one other option, I guess. If you wanted to take prevent plant and still plant a crop, there is a way where you can take prevent plant but at a 35% level, collect that money up front, and then wait, I think it's 20 days, and you can come back and plant soybeans. The problem with that option is you still have to pay your corn premium and you have to buy a premium on your soybeans. That's the way I understood it. I'm not positive on that. Now, I haven't really penciled out that option, but we're thinking that's not a very attractive option at this point. Last load. Done trucking for the day. Time for some fuel. Plant corn. If we can get it in by the 5th, with an APH actual production history of 170 bushels per acre with 85% insurance coverage, that guarantees us 144.5 bushels times the spring price, which is $4. This price is determined by what the prices were in the spring, and they average it out somehow. I'm not exactly sure how they come to that. If you do all this math, you're guaranteed $578 per acre to grow corn if you get it planted by the 5th and you keep your 85% coverage. If you plant soybeans, APH of 52, 85%, you're guaranteed 44.2 bushels to the acre times the spring price of $9.54, gives you a guarantee of $421.67 per acre. Now, prevent plant, APH of 170 bushels on corn times 85%, 144.5. Prevent plant gives you 55% of your insurance coverage. That guarantees you 79.48 bushels times $4. That's what you'll get paid, $317.90 per acre. Now you look at these and you think, okay, corn is still the best option because that's what you're guaranteed to get paid. But there's more to it than that. Now keep in mind, as you look at these numbers, these are gross dollars. So if you plant corn or if you plant soybeans, you still have all of your input costs. If you take Prevent Plant, you don't have as much input costs. There's still some because you have to deal with the idle acres, but not nearly as much as planting corn or soybeans. We can't just look at the numbers and go with what pays the best, because there's more that goes into it. Like if we plant corn now and we come back to harvest it, the corn's probably going to be quite a bit wetter. It's going to cost us a lot of money to dry it down. If we plant soybeans, you won't have that drying expense most likely. They're not what I call real world numbers. Those are insurance numbers. Those are worst case scenario. This is the bare minimum that you're going to get if you have a complete crop failure. Now, no one's saying that we can't plant corn today or next week or 2 weeks from now and grow 200 bushel corn, get it sold for $4 and get $800 an acre. The probability of that happening is pretty slim. Does anybody want to buy a wagon? They're still for sale. Anyways, there's just so many details, so many little things that we have to consider before we make that decision. Another thing that kind of threw a wrench in this is Trump announced this MFP or Market Facilitation Program payment, which we got one last fall because of the price of corn and soybeans were low due to the trade deal with China, or lack thereof. He announced that they are going to pay this year based on planted acres. So some of you, if you're smart, you see the problem. If we go with Prevent Plant, those acres are not planted, therefore no payment. I prefer, along with most farmers, trade instead of aid, but in this situation, that aid is necessary, and I'm gonna take the payment if I can get things planted. I changed clothes because I'm done working, but there's something that I wanted to add that I forgot. The other thing that needs to be a factor if you choose Prevent Plant or not is if you have any of your inputs already applied to your farm. So thankfully this year we're in a situation where we didn't get very much applied as far as nitrogen and fertilizer. We don't have any chemicals on except for the farm that we got planted. So in that aspect, we're in pretty good shape because we don't have a lot invested so far. I just wanted to add that in. Now for those of you who think, oh, farmers got it made, they just plant the crop and if they can't get it in, they'll just collect insurance and they'll be fine. False. I want to debunk that theory right now. Crop insurance is not designed to make sure that the farmer makes money. It's designed to keep the farm afloat. Most of the time, it's going to be break even or slightly less. I hope this explained some of the decisions that we're facing. Farming is not easy. These are the decisions that make it difficult because there's so many different scenarios. Things could go so many different ways. So I hope you understand now. If not, maybe watch the video again, I guess. Oh yeah, I don't guarantee my math to be 100% correct, so do the math for your own farm. Don't trust mine. Once again, thanks for watching. If you like what you saw, hit the like button. And I just found out that hitting the like button doesn't only tell me that you like the video, it tells Mother YouTube that you like the video. Therefore, they'll push my videos in related content that will be suggested for other people who watch similar videos. So hit that like button. If you didn't like the video, then I apologize. Hit the like button anyway. Don't forget to subscribe. Tell your friends. See ya.